welcome to Don't Speak On It podcast, where we keep you energized, informed, and empowered. I'm Saheladine.
And I'm Teresa.
And we are coming to you with episode 4, and we are still coming with current topics. There's a lot of things that we see in the news and what people are talking about, and some of the concerns, when you're talking to friends and family and people at work. And one of them is the economic downturn. Is it recession? Are we not in a recession? Prices are high. People are finding it difficult with making payments and things like that. Everything, gas prices, electricity prices, everything is rising.
Food,
yes. All the
yes.
Basic necessities and things that we have maybe previously been able to just pay for comfortably is now a little bit more of a challenge, and maybe saving is a bit more difficult in this time. So whether or not we are in a current recession, whether it's been announced or not, people are still feeling the pressures and some of the struggles of what's happening in the economy right now. But what we wanted to talk about is how can we continue, or how can we be successful in an economic downturn, whether it's this one, whether it's one in the future, and what are some of the benefits and opportunities that we can try and create out of this type of time, or how can we be prepared for when one comes, if we're not in it, if there's a debate on whether or not we are in it currently or not, and also how do we navigate, how do we survive, how do we not be so stressed. So Teresa, you and I, we talk about finances and economy and money a lot. I think it's a conversation people should be having with their friends, their family, their children. I think it's important to talk about how can we maintain financial security. So what are some of the things that you have been having discussions about, or that you feel strongly about in terms of financial security in this time?
Well, one of the things which is huge is that it's not just us as individuals. Companies have seen their expenses soar as well, and just like ours, their electricity and everything is going up, and rates. One of the huge thing that I've been talking about is the interest rates and how people mortgages are going up, and because the mortgages are going up, landlords are now going up on rent and things of that sort. So we're seeing, and especially me, I'm seeing people who say, oh, my landlord just went up on my rent £400, or my mortgage just went up $1,500. And, this is huge. My question is, what I ask myself and what I foresee is another housing bubble, like the 2008 one. A lot of my family in the US are saying, well, people should be on fixed rates. I don't know if it's different in the UK, but in the US, I guess when you put yourself in a fixed rate, it just stays. Yeah. Here in the UK, what I'm seeing, and I said, I don't think it works like that. I think it's only for a certain amount of time you're on the fixed rate, and then you have to reset it. So, and that's one thing that my father was like, oh, well, that's not good. No wonder, and you never realize how different it is in different countries. Yeah. But the problem back in 2008, when the whole recession happened and there was a housing bubble in the US, it was because people were buying homes above their means. Yes. And they were in these variable rates. Contracts. And during that time, their house just went up massively and they couldn't afford the house anymore. So, buying a house now, do we, if you're one or two people, do you really need that 4 or 5 bedroom house? Do you need to get a £500,000 house? Do you need, it comes to a point where we need to now focus on living, within our means.
100%.
And having more time and money for the things that's more important, whether it's time off, going on holiday, and not working ourselves to the bones, Yeah. And
and I think with and I've watched and I do find the 2008 crash very interesting, in terms of economics, because there's that side of the consumer taking out larger mortgage loans, particularly in the US, and they're not being able to pay, because obviously when it collapsed, then obviously the rates rose, and then people weren't able to pay the monthly payments. But there also was an accountability on the lender side. You know, when the rates were so low, they were selling bad bad loans that basically were a combination of, you know, just bad bonds, and so they weren't really supported. So people were selling all of these mortgage loans at low cost, and people were obviously getting excited because they thought, oh, look, I can get this loan, I can be lent this amount of money in order to purchase this property, which, you know, in normal circumstances they wouldn't have been able to afford. But their credit, the thresholds for them to obtain credit was a lot lower. So, you know, even if they had bad credit or are currently in debt, they were still getting accepted on these loans. And so it was a big business at the time. And also it was big commission that a lot of these brokers were getting, and the mortgage companies were getting, and it was making them a lot of money. And that's why they were pushing all of these loans out. But unfortunately what happened is then it got saturated, and it caused this crash or this bubble to happen. And then, you know, people were stuck, they were homeless, they had to foreclose and all of these sorts of things. So
a lot of foreclosed houses.
There was a lot of there was a lot of people benefiting on the stock market and benefiting in the investment world. And unfortunately, because a lot of consumers didn't understand what that means, just because it's good now, it, you know, obviously got saturated, and because they didn't have that understanding, people were just like, yeah, let's just go for it. So it affected them.
So the difference, and it's a huge difference. Like, I looked into becoming a real estate agent here. I actually looked into the course, actually, because I'm just that type of person. Because in the US, you sell a house, you get 10% of the house. So that's another thing. You get a large lump sum.
You get 10% here if you're lucky.
No, you ain't getting 10% here. It's the same reason why I don't do hair here, because, you know, the pay. And this is another huge issue, and that's what I was saying before, is that the how much US people get paid, the salaries is totally different than the UK. And one of the problem I have with the UK is that if the prices are going to go up, then people's money needs to match or go up. You cannot have that in the economy. I don't understand it. And people ask me, they said, oh, well, it's like that. I had someone say, well, it's like that everywhere. I said, no, but it's not as bad, because see, you have nurses in the US that's on $200K. They traveling nurse. You're able to make more money, which means that, oh yes, the prices go up, but you have a lot more disposable income. And so that's what we should talk about. What do we do? How do we work on finding more disposable income? Companies, the construction industry is now, housing is now slowing down because people don't have the money to buy. They don't have the money to put down onto. I had a conversation with someone the other day. He was saying how the banks are now encouraging people to go into shared ownership. When they apply for a loan for a house, they get denied for a regular loan. But if they apply for a shared ownership, then they get approved. But he said that the main difference was that you're looking at an 800 mortgage by yourself, and you have the money to put down and get denied. But with the shared ownership, their mortgage now has gone up to 1,200.
Yes.
So he said, how is it you approved for a higher mortgage paying 1,200 if you didn't get approved for the 800 mortgage?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously there's always going to be benefits, and I think there's always benefits on the lending side. There's benefits on the investor side, because obviously, the investment side of things, where people are buying stocks, have bonds, are putting the money into these different means and measures. I think there's benefits, and they all have their goals. And then what that does is it affects the consumers ability to get a loan, or to be credible for a loan. And that's why to us it doesn't make sense, but that's because it's working in
Their
favor of,
favor. It's working in their
another
favor. It's not.
business.
It's not the consumer favor.
No. And I think so, yeah, with the salary difference, see UK versus US, and like you just to take an example that you mentioned about nurses over in the US, obviously with your healthcare over there, it's privatized. So it's different in terms of salary and things like that, and what they can the potential of what they can get paid. Whereas here, obviously we have the national health system, and the way in which they get paid is different. So I think with some of those things in that particular field, things are different. Some of the more sort of government paid professions here, like teachers and things like that, struggle a lot more, whereas where you have economies where those things are privatized and you pay into those anyway as an individual, it's going to be different in terms of salary. But I agree with you. I always think that if things are going up, consumables are going up and everything else there's for inflation, then there ought to be inflation in salary. Not everyone gets that opportunity to work in a company where they do get a pay rise annually, or they do get a bonus annually, because a majority of people, the average income is between 28 and 32,000 a year. Generally in those wage brackets in those companies, they might not have that system where they do salary increase and benefit. So it's challenging for the average person because they're not in that wage bracket where they can actually get benefits. So they do suffer when things happen in the economic downturn.
Yeah. And it's just, even with that, you have stuff going up just constantly. But I know you said, it is a different system altogether. But, it's going to be a ripple effect. And I think that's what the government doesn't see, is the ripple effect, because once all it has to do is start is with people can afford to pay the necessities. They can afford, they're going to stop paying. Then it's going to be loads of people not paying. I just saw an article saying loads of people are not paying their council tax.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of it, but it's a ripple effect. So if they have the money, I know they said that the more money drives up inflation, but the thing is that if they have the money, at least they can have sort of a cushion. That means everybody gets their money. But yes, it is a ripple effect because it drives up prices still. Now, is there price gouging? Yes, there's price gouging. And some companies are taking advantage. A lot of companies are taking advantage of this, cost of living. They have, but at the end of the day, it needs to be an equal playing field, not where the average pay is low and then you got people mortgages going up. And one guy, and he actually, Rishi called in, and he was telling Rishi, my mortgage went up $1,500, and it was on a radio station. I think it was LBC radio station or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Rishi was saying, oh, well, you just need to do this and do that. But the guy said he's working 7 days a week.
Right.
To stay on top of his mortgage. So to go for your mortgage to go from what, 1,200 and then go up another 1,000 or 1,500, that's a lot of money to come up with. And now he sees himself working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because he has no choice to. So a lot of people are now, you're going to have people who taking care of their health less, people working more, and it drives that. It's just a ripple effect. Now, let's talk about how do we tackle some of these issues, because what I was saying about the construction industry, they're saying that the housing market has now slowed down. So house building has slowed down, and there's not going to be enough people to buy houses or whatnot, or being able to afford to buy houses at the moment. So it's having a ripple effect. And now you're having layoffs. So you're having people made redundant again.
Mm.
Like the Wilco situation. Wilco said, and people probably love their job.
Mm.
How can you focus on being recession proof?
Yeah.
And at this point, people who were working, there's going to be a lot of people made redundant, maybe. And as far as recession, I know there's a whole thing saying whether we're in a recession or not, but the definition of recession that the government uses is different from the actual,
Mm.
what kind of, a recession is. And a lot of people feel like we've been in a recession. It's just the definition
Yeah.
that they use based on the GDP or whatever.
Yeah. The economic
Gross
decline,
domestic
whether
product
it's
is,
month to month or whether it's two consecutive quarters.
yes.
Doesn't matter. Times are hard. That's
Yes.
tough. We don't need to define it. We know what it
We
is.
don't need to define it, so we know
The average person is feeling it.
and we know where it's going because it don't look good. But
It
at the
doesn't
end
look
of the
good.
day, there's things that we can do.
Yeah.
And during this time, I read a book, and like I said before, people said, "Oh, should I start a business during the recession?" But actually, that's the best time to start a business. I have a friend; she made $1 million during 2008 during a recession. What millionaires and billionaires are made.
Yeah.
But what comes from it is that we have to be a bit more creative to make money. We have to kind of go with the markets. We have to look at the markets. Me, myself, I realized that HR is not that important and to a lot of people anymore. I realized that the HR wasn't working. I see that, I do websites. I see that was coming up, that was in more demand than anything. Because why? Because you got people who now have companies that don't have it, people who are starting companies or want to start companies, and so that to me was flowing more. So I've rebranded. So these are some of the situations, the things that people have to start looking at. Do we keep on doing the same thing? No. It takes going back, looking at markets, analyzing what's needed, what's in demand, kind of forecasting where do you think the economy is going, and what can you do to make yourself viable within that type of economy. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, 100%. It's pivoting from where you're at and listening and looking at, like you said, the market. Look at what's working, trying to push something that's going against what the current market is going to be very challenging. What worked 5 years ago, 10 years ago won't necessarily work now. So sometimes it's a matter of looking at the business. What is the demand? What is the consumer demand? What are some of the issues now that need to be solved? As I said, issues 5 years ago, 10 years ago are different from the issues now. People are all about getting their brand out there. Personal branding is going to be a topic we're going to come on to in another few episodes. But, these are sorts of things that people are interested in, technology. So being savvy, like we've talked about previously, being savvy and learning about what is the consumer demand and what are some of the things you can do as a business person, or if you're looking to get into business. Starting a business during this time is not necessarily easy, but it's something that can be done and is worth looking at, because as Teresa said, a lot of businesses are successful when they either start or they start revving up their activity on their proactivity during times where everyone else is slowing down.
Exactly.
Cutting costs, everybody is laying off people and things like that. That's when you can start putting in more investment in what you're doing. But the key is preparing for these moments. A lot of companies who did become successful during recessions or economic downturns because they prepared. They might have sold bonds or shares and during a time when things were doing really well. Maybe they timed it right, maybe they were looking at the market, maybe they could see that there was pressure coming, and then they decided to sell. So then they had cash,
exactly.
they had liquid cash that they could use. That happened to Amazon. I was reading that Amazon, they sold I think it was $872 million worth of bonds just before the 2000 boom happened, and if they had not done that, they probably would have been one of the companies that didn't survive.
Exactly.
But because they did that, they had liquidated some of their assets. They had cash, and then they were able to reinvest. During 2000, when
Exactly.
there was no money coming in, and the thing is, with the recession, actually, you need money to flow.
You do.
You actually have to keep spending. So it's a bit like oxymoron, is that the prices go up and people then stop spending, but you need people to spend. Then that's why people are waiting for this moment when the prices have to come down, because they do have to come down in order for the economy to regenerate and restart itself. So to prepare yourself, when things are good, that's not the time to be spending recklessly. Yes, it's a time to basically invest in a way, but also make sure that you've got cash. So you've got emergency funds, you're saving. If you get a bonus or you get a salary increase, why do you need to now live on that increased income? Because you were surviving on a lower income. So it continues to survive on that lower income, and everything else is excess. All of that is saving. All of that is your emergency fund. Maintain your strong credit. Having debt during a recession is an issue, because then you're not going to have the finances to pay that debt, and it's going to get more debt. So paying off your debts, making sure that your credit rate is good during times prior to any recession or economic downturn, because if you're going to try and make the most of a recession by buying when the prices are low, or investing in things when the prices are low and they're at the lowest, you're going to need good credit. So these are some of the things you can do before it.
Yeah, and that's that's a huge issue. It's having that disposable income. So let's talk about, how do you get gain disposable income, because what people are going to need to do, they're going to need to basically go in areas that's booming. They're going to need to retrain. They're going to need to go in industries that's needed and picking up. They're going to need to do side jobs. Some people are going to need to do side jobs. I think I saw months ago that it was a single mom. She had 3 or 4 different jobs. She worked for the NHS, doing at home, and then after that, then she delivered pizzas, and then this is the type of stuff people are having to do now just to sustain their regular living, as the price goes up, and especially when it's you're one person. But let's also talk about how, and I'll go back to as far as like rebranding, me rebranding, and the reason why I looked at it, because I launched my business as an HR, but employee satisfaction, employee engagement firm. And recently I saw somebody on LinkedIn that said that they had to close a business and they had to start all over because they was focused on employee engagement as well. And I said, oh, this resonates closely to me, because I've done the same. My business was focused on something that companies probably didn't really care for, want, or feel they needed, So
was it a priority for them?
It wasn't a priority. They don't care about that. And I cared about it. So I did my company based on what I cared about, which is, not what we should do. So it's a learning curve for me.
Yeah. You have to learn from your happening.
HR is good, because people who do focus on employment law and the problems, yes, people are going to go to them. But as far as making employees happy, that's not what companies wanted and thought there was a priority, which is fine with me. But what I realized during this time, and through every recession, every time, technology can come in, this can come in, everything can come in. But again, creativity, and I said it before on my post, creativity trumps everything. If you're creative and you're able to come up with an idea, I saw something recently that said people can invest in technology.
Yeah.
technology investment during this
Yes.
time, you
Yes.
know.
I saw that too. Yeah.
And so these are the things that I do have, I'm building tech and stuff like that. It takes money, but all of these are ideas. So, what comes up, what goes down must comes up. It's a cycle. It
Yes.
doesn't stay down long. It will come back up.
Mm.
But where are you going to put yourself, and how are you going to pivot
Mm.
in that cycle, and where are you going to put yourself during this time,
Yes.
to me, it's time to think about what's needed.
Mhm.
You know, have a think about what's needed, how you can work together, because I think working together is very important. Because
Yes.
that's another thing. If I was in the U.S., I would have family. We would work together, and my family already working together. They have each other.
Mm.
Here, I don't have any family or whatnot, but working together as family.
Mm.
And I've seen people nonstop, people moving back with their parents, people
Yes.
moving out, saving up,
Yeah.
move in with their parents to save up for a house.
Mm.
People, parents helping their
Mm.
children out now, because it's on, it's hard for a lot of
Mm.
people,
Mm.
especially when they're making, little over minimum wage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's so expensive. Like,
Mm.
the rent has gone up. So you're
Mm.
looking at a 20 something year old now need to pay 1100, 1200 for rent,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or getting on shared ownership 1300 for a mortgage.
Mm. Yeah.
So these are the things, and I've heard people going into shared ownership homes with friends, roommating. And
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. It's time to work with each other, work together, partnership. If
Mm.
you have a business, it's time to collaborate, do more partnerships, see where you can
Mm.
give each other more business referrals.
Mm.
Ask for,
Mm.
focus on referrals,
Mm.
see what you can, it's a lot that you can do at this time to
Yeah.
maybe see yourself through this, especially as
Yeah.
a business, as an individual. um
Mm.
I believe that a lot of people, usually during a recession, when a lot of people are made redundant, what this happened during COVID, people just started their own businesses during that
They
time.
did. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So that's another startups, that could be another a market
Mm.
that people focus on, that change their business to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are great examples and very easy, quick things you can do, working together. If you can't afford to buy by yourself, look at your friendship group or your family group, or, is there a way you can buy together? Is there a way you can, invest in something together? If people have got capital and you've got the idea, how can you get them involved in a plan that you want to put together, and where they can get some benefit out of their investment and things like that. Investing in property is a good way to diversify your investments. Some people invest in stocks and shares and things like that, but it's good to have a diverse portfolio in terms of your investment, and also, multiple sources of income. Yes, you don't have to be doing the three job cleaning at night, day. Find ways in which you can create an income that doesn't involve you have to physically either be there, physically have to look over the business all the time. Something that can generate income
Passive
passively.
income, yes.
Exactly. So things like that, and these are things you can do prior to it. I think the key is to be prepared for something that's always going to be inevitable. Economic downturn happens every 8 to 10 years, and so if we know that this is going to keep happening, then it seems silly not to prepare for something like this. Yes, you can still enjoy life, you can still go on holidays and still have nice meals and treat yourself to nice clothes, and there are times when you're going to be doing really well in life and money's going to be flowing in, and yes, you can enjoy it, but you still have to be prepared for these things. Even the most wealthy financially can also suffer bankruptcy. We've seen it with millionaires and billionaires. On most of their stories, they have been bankrupt at least once
Yes.
in their lifetime. So
Yeah.
people do experience these things.
I
So
mean, look at Trump. I think he filed bankruptcy about 5 times. I
yeah,
mean, it's just
exactly.
something that people do, and that's, like, I had this conversation with a family member, like my mom. She just like, oh no, no, bankruptcy, no, 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 this and
Bad
that,
thing.
and it's wrong.
Mm.
But rich people, they don't care. They file bankruptcy.
Yeah,
They get out of debt. They file bankruptcy. I said it doesn't stop you. Not
yeah.
who, in the US, and I know people who have filed bankruptcy 2 or 3 times, and they still
Mm.
got a house, they still got
Yeah.
a car afterwards.
Mm.
If you got to start over, start over. And I know some people,
Mm.
but it's that, as an individual, it's
Mm.
their choice, I guess. But
Mm.
another thing, like I said, accountants who I used to work with, and we used to laugh about it. We used to say, rich people don't pay bills. They
Yeah.
don't pay bills. They keep their money. They don't pay bills.
Yeah. They live on credit.
They live on
They keep
credit.
their cash.
Yes. Cash flow rules, the cash flow, keep your cash flow. That's
Keeping
the number
cash.
one rule in business.
Yes.
Hold on to your money and keep your cash, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna tell you all the rules what I learned in business, but
Yeah, they have to learn. People have to learn.
yes.
You have to educate yourself. You can't stay ignorant on something that, one, is always going to keep happening, and two, you do need that financial literacy. And a lot of people don't invest their time or understanding in becoming financially literate. So you need to look into these things. You need to understand, look at these. People do idolize and look at these things like, and these people, these millionaires, these Bezos and
Yeah.
all these people, and they go, oh, look at how amazing and what they've done. But look at their journey. How have they financially moved? What are some of the financial decisions they've done? They haven't all done it by themselves, guaranteed. They have worked with people. They have worked with investors. People have invested in their idea. They have collaborated within their business, even if it may have changed, over
Yeah.
time. Whoever they started the company with may not be in the company now.
It's just like Apple, when
Yeah.
Apple became a public entity, and put their their company
Stock
on the
exchange.
stock.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So
It's changed.
before then it was failing. It was
Yeah.
failing.
Mm.
These are things that you have to think, do you get, private investors? There's apps that you can go on and get investors to invest and pitch your business, or get people to go in and give you. There was a lady, I think it was not the British Bank website, I think it was, and she
Mm.
said that she went on one of the got like one of the apps, I forgot what you call an investor, but got like a silent investor, but she went on one of the apps, got some
Angel
investors.
investor.
Angel investor, yes. So
Mm.
she went on the app, got a few people to invest in it, and then she was able to produce her products more at a massive amount. So
Mm.
manufacturers, she needed a certain amount, and
Upscale.
now her product is in supermarkets
Mm.
because
Mm-hmm.
she was able to get that backing and that funding that way.
Mm.
So no, don't be scared. Do what you have to do. If you have a good idea or a good product, see if there's someone that want to invest.
Mm. There are plenty of people with money, even during times where it's difficult for the average person. There are people looking for opportunities, looking for ideas, looking for somewhere to put their money, because obviously they want to invest. They have liquid cash, and when we say liquid cash, it's cash that's not tied up in assets. People's when people look at people's net worth. And when people ask, oh, what's their net worth? People Google people's net worth. It's a culmination of the liquid cash that they have in
Yep.
the bank, their assets, the money that's tied into assets, in what they have in bonds and things like that. There's all different things that there's stock as well. So if they have stock, obviously that has a value, that
exactly
their net worth in terms of what stock they may have in their warehouse and things like that. So when people look at the person's net worth, it's not just the amount of cash they've got in their bank. It's a culmination of all of those things that have monetary value.
And then let's be honest, investment, it's a way for them to pay less tax as well. So
yeah, exactly. So
people do want to get rid of that
money.
cash.
Yes. They want to get rid of the cash. People are going to want to throw their money at you. If you've got a good idea, they can see where they can get a return on their investment, ROI, and they're going to want to work with you. So it's about doing your research and understanding money. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about money. Amongst the family. I understand it can be a cultural thing. I know it's a cultural thing within my culture, the Black culture, and I think talking about investments is something you don't talk about, finance and things like that. In some instances, yes, but I think people need to talk about it more. I think sometimes we also work in silos and as individual entities and say, I've got to do this and I've got to get this house and I've got to get but let's look at being financially viable as a group. What can we do about putting monies together? If I've got $5,000 and you've got $2,000 and they've got $10,000, what can we do with that amount and make it work for us? Build on that.
Build on that.
Even if it's you get your money back, or even if it's you get an extra $1,000 on top, that's an extra $1,000 that you didn't have, and you can now use that to reinvest into something.
But other cultures do that.
They do, and that's, I think,
Mexicans, when Mexicans come to the US, and they do it here, and I'm not gonna call them out, but when Mexicans come to the US, because I worked with some, they said, oh, we all lived in one house together. We lived in the same house. It'd be couples living in the same house, one room. And then each one of them will take their money, they'll pay the bills, they'll take their money, and they'll buy their own house. They'll buy this and that, and they separate, and then they'll do it all again. Bring other people into the house.
That's exactly it. You've got to work together. It's not about doing it on your own. There's no sense of pride in struggling, trying to be financially successful on your own. Very few people have been, I don't know many people who've been able to be financially successful by doing every single aspect of it on their own. They need to work with people. They need to collaborate. And also, one of the things I was reading, they were saying about, if you're in a 2-person household, if you're fortunate to have 2 people earning 2 incomes, right, you're going to have better buying power. However, you can still see how you can live on one person's salary, even though there's 2 salaries coming in. Because guess what? If one person loses their job, you're going to be fine, because you're already used to one person paying. Exactly. You working on one salary. So it's living within your means, not just because.
Let me ask you something.
Because
do you think that people, and I'm not going to say a culture, ethnicity, I'm going to say race. Do you think our race and some people, they live above their means because they want to prove something, or they feel, to someone else, or they want to be showy? I'm just asking this because I'm not, in the US, I know it's huge. It is huge, and our culture is that way. Even with the stars, the rappers and all that, sometimes they be ready to lose their homes, but they have these big old chains on and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I think. So I think our culture is a product of being targeted to spend money in an excessive way.
Oh yes, it did. We put trillions into the economy.
Yeah,
as a fool.
Sorry, it's all right. I think we're targeted in a way where we are told through images and through certain people, or I not idols, but celebrities or whoever, and shown all these images of people that look like you. You kind of, like we say, you identify with people who may look like you or have a similar story, etc. And
we're the largest consumers, especially in America. We are the largest. Our race
but that's because it's been targeted. That's, I think, it's I think it's by design. Listen,
of course.
I'm trying to say this in a way where it just makes sense, but basically, I believe that we are targeted to be consumers and not investors.
Of course.
I will
Yeah, of
say that
course.
because
We
I think there are people behind the scenes, right? Behind the rappers, behind the athletes.
yeah,
We're talking about those people because those ones are in the public eye more
yeah.
so than anyone else of our race that are on the social media, etc. They're given the advances and they're given advice and said, or they're given direction, even from the music videos and producers
Yes.
of the music videos and directing what should be there. Girls, cars,
Cars,
jewelry,
chains, yeah, jewelry,
money.
which is
Yeah, if you think about it,
and a
most
car.
rap videos, unless they're like, okay, trying to do something different, majority,
Yeah.
if you go to the low ones, the low budget, any rapper doesn't really have a big name. They always got girls, cars, chains, and wads of money. And so if you see that enough, it becomes what you think you should be doing. You personify yourself or you assimilate yourself with that image, and you think,
Well,
this is what I need to be doing.
Cars is the worst investment you can make. It depreciates as soon as you drive off the lot. It
Yeah,
holds no value.
right.
And that is I don't get it. I'm not that way, but I just don't I don't like we have to do better too. And and not
But
to
it's
say
difficult.
yeah,
I think I find it difficult to blame. I think, yes, we all have to educate ourselves. And I think we
yeah,
are fortunate to have that wherewithal or have, family influence that makes us think differently. You have a very supportive family that all work together in business. You think differently. You're not sort of the average person, I would say. And same with my family, we're very similar. So we don't kind of get caught up with that level of consumerism. I think everyone is being targeted, regardless of the race, are being targeted
of
to be
course.
consumers. But I
Yeah.
think within our race, there is a lot of influence that's being pushed onto us, and I think the natural cause of programming enables that person to think that that's how they should be behaving, should be
Yeah.
acting. That's why they talk about the influence of hip-hop and rap music, and what's being said, and the way that they therefore treat women, and all those sorts of things, how they treat each other, is all influenced by what's in the music and what's in the visual the visual programming that's out there, in social
Yeah.
media and also on TV. So I think people are products and victims of that whole system that's
It
being
is the
worked
system.
on against our race. However, I think we need to be aware of that. We need to be cognizant of that. And I think therefore you need to try your best, because there's a bigger machine that's working a lot harder to make sure that you stay a consumer, you stay
Yes.
buying, you stay, as soon as you get your money, it goes out, living this lavish life. And it's not just our race, because even now with social media, with the way that they are with with the influencers and
Yes,
restaurants and buy this,
yes.
buy that. There's so much advertising that goes on social media that I think everyone is subjected to. There are loads of people who are living up above their means.
Yeah.
Loads of people, not just our race. And so I think young people, I think, are
No,
now being
it's
targeted.
not ours. It's not just ours, but I do. And I've always, and that's the difference. People said, "Oh, you want to raise your children in the US?" And I said, "No." And I've never been that type of person that's very material.
Mm.
And and even though my family know they don't like it, but I just find, like, when I look at my family in the US,
Mm.
it's a materialistic type of
Mm.
you know culture. That's all
Mm.
I'm saying. And
Yes.
not to say it's just our race, but
Mm.
the Corvettes, the Jordans, you know what
Mm.
I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
one of the
agree.
reasons why I didn't want to raise my children in the US, because they wear uniforms here. And I don't have to worry about buying them 200-pound
Yeah.
trainers to go to
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
Yeah. and Nike, they made in China, and I wrote a piece on this when I was in uni. They made in China, and then they selling these Jordans for God knows. But reading is very important too, because I read a book called, and this was sent to me by my father, Millionaire Next Door, and it was talking about how majority of millionaires, they live in areas you wouldn't even think. And this is a net worth. This is not, this is having $1 million in the bank. This is not this is not, having $1 million of assets, or, just made $1 million and then you went out and spent $1 million. This is
they're holding $1 million and still living.
This is making sure, that they have $1 million, and most of them are regular people. They were like firefighters. They were farmers. They were like people who, and they stayed in middle class neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Millionaire Next Door, because these people had money, they had assets, they had money, they had that money, and they will go out and buy not champagne, but a Budweiser. They will go out and buy, they wouldn't spend, and the theme of the book, these people wouldn't spend no more than $100 on a suit.
Yeah.
You will see them walking around in jeans and flip-flops.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's another thing, they'll say, oh, like with the stars, they wonder why all of a sudden they bankrupt. They bankrupt because they made $1 million or $2 million on a record, but then they went out and spent $5 million and bought a $1 million house, and then the cars, and then this and that, and they don't own none of it.
Yeah.
And then before you turn around, they're losing it.
And that's the problem. They're encouraged, and an environment is encouraging that type of spending. And also, and most of these people have come from nothing. So if you bear that in mind, because they have come from nothing, and now all of a sudden they have this income, they're like, it's like people who win the lottery. They generally, they lose that money very quickly because they're not used to money, and so they don't know how to hold money. They don't have that economic understanding of how to nurture money. So if you don't have that knowledge and education on how money works and how you can make money work for you, a lot of these people just spend and spend and spend. And if they're encouraged to spend, and they, a lot of these people have people around them that want to spend their money for them, and they're like, oh, you should get this, and you got this money now, so you can do that. And it becomes we do this, and we can do that.
Jay-Z said he had cousins. Jay-Z, I listen to Jay-Z. Jay-Z said he, family functions. He had a cousin say, hey man, give me $5,000-6,000 to invest in this and that, and he was like, no. I'm not giving you that, because you want me to give you my hard money so you can invest, and you don't have flops. You haven't come to me with no true business plan, and you think just because I got it, I'm just supposed to give it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that becomes a problem. But I'm gonna put another book out there for you. It's called The Jewish Code. Okay. The Money Code. The Money Code. And then it says the Jewish, and it's like a Jewish book. It's based on the Jewish code or whatever. And it goes into the Bible, yes. But it also talks about how Jewish do their money and how they think. They will be in an apartment. They will not buy their house. They go into business to sell their business. And they will stay in an apartment and while they doing the business. They'll work hard, grind, and they'll build the business up. And then once they build the business up, their thing is to come out of it and sell that business. And once they sell that business, then they would go buy their house. They won't go buy a house until they sold that business.
Yeah, and it's there's so many, like you say, different tools and things. And like some people are fortunate to have principles that they've built and developed within their culture. And I think, with the Black culture, there are so many things that, making money, holding money wasn't one of them. Wasn't one of the things on the top priority list for our race of people, however many years ago. It was survival. It was survival. A lot of our ancestors and very not too distant generations were trying to survive. We're trying to just get on and live and eat and find shelter and all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, there was a different focus in life. So I completely understand why we don't have that educational teaching about money and how it works, and, you know, money being a taboo discussion and things like that within our community. But I think now that we're in a different generation, I think, with our race, and so therefore we need to now start educating ourselves, educating each other, and start from now and build principles, build ways,
educate at a young age.
Exactly.
Start educating your children and stuff. I talk to my children about money. They understand the value of it. I talk to them about it. I make them work. They know that, oh, if I work, I make money. Nothing is given to me. Okay. And they also realize, and I teach them how to save before, you know, teach them to save something, you know, and how to manage money. It starts at a young age. But go get that Jewish code. Oh, the money code. I'm sorry. The money code. Based on whatever it said, Jewish, whatever. But go get the money code, because it talks about where you can invest your money. It also talks about how you can put your money overseas in the Cayman Islands and all that other stuff too. It tells you what countries that you can put your money in. Okay. Tax free.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know what they say? If you want to hide something, put in the book.
Put in the book. People don't want to read it. Only certain people are going to pick the book up. It's true. It's true. There are so many things
in that book. Have a look. Just take a look at the book, because it's some good secrets. I'm talking about on different ways that houses are on the stock market, how you can invest in property in the stock market, all of that.
Yeah. No, there are just ways. There's so many principles, which, you know, we can adopt to try and improve the way that we see money, the way that our relationship with money. You know, there's obviously that just general, I think, culture around money being like, you know, money is evil, and it causes all of these.
That's another thing,
and all of that stuff. It's just perception. Think about it. What is your relationship with money like? Are you like, oh, I don't really want to talk about money. I don't want to be happy that I'm comfortable in life. You know, you don't have to. You have to have a healthy relationship with money in order for you to.
You do.
If you have a bad relationship with money, guess what? You're going to spend it, and money is going to leave you. It ain't going to come to you. You're not going to look for opportunities to increase your economic value personally or your assets. You're not going to look for those things. You're not going to be driven by. You don't have to be driven by money. I'm not driven by money. I'm not a person that wants to have the boat and the sports car. I do. But
money is not evil. Money is good, because there's so many good things that you can do with it. Whether it's take care of your family, whether you know, we have to stop looking at the bad thing about money and start making it good. And I've had to reprogram myself, and that's one thing that's in this book. It talks about the difference on how in our culture they say, oh, money is the root to all evil, money this, money that, whereas in the Jewish culture they teach them that money is good. You know, and so
cultures have that same relationship with money. They see the necessity. I think, you know, money is ridiculous. The amount of times I'm like, it's just the concept of it is nonsense personally. But it's the currency in order to be able to get on in life and to have to just be comfortable and not have to worry. You know, you have obviously different worries and different stresses. Of course, the more money you know, millionaire problems, there's billionaire problems, there's thousands of problems. You know, everyone's gonna have struggles, right? No matter how much you're earning, it's not going to get rid of your worries. But you know, it's basically gonna give you a way to be able to do things that you would like to do, the way in which you would like to have your life. It gives you a little bit more freedom with things, and a little bit more choice when it comes to things, you know, and also, like, I think in terms of like medical situations, because, you know, I think the hardest time is when, you know, you have a medical issue either with yourself or your family, and you need to get like expensive surgery or any kind of expensive procedure that requires you to go private, and then you have to pay. You know, if you don't have those funds, it puts you in a very difficult position, and it could be life-threatening. So personally, I feel like I would always want to just give myself or put myself in a good economic state, so that if any event something happens to myself or my family, we can look at opportunities. We can fly to Germany, or we can go to this country, or work with this experimental drug or whatever. I feel like for me that's more important. Yes, I want to live comfortably. Yes, I do want to travel here and there. I would like a little bar and a little cinema, so I can enjoy it with my family, but I'm more of a person that likes experiences, because when that time comes for all of us, and we're leaving this existence that we currently live, what are the things that you're going to remember? All the experiences,
exactly,
all the things that when you and I had a chat here talking about economic economic viability, having those moments, talking with your daughters and expressing, enjoying those moments.
Yeah,
that's what's important. But money helps you have more of those moments. It can do.
It can. It absolutely. It's like one of my goals eventually is to travel with my daughters. It's for us to go, say if I want to do work if I want to go work in the States or do some work in the States, I could take them with me. We could do work in different countries. And that's I think I spoke to you about that before. But that hasn't left it hasn't left one of my goals in my list, because I think once you experience different parts of the world, it opens up your mind. It makes you think totally different. Once you experience different cultures, different parts of the world, different types of people, it opens up, and that's another thing, before years ago, when I was in the States and I said I was going to a country, they was like, I wouldn't go there. Now everybody go everywhere. The world has changed so much that people now are traveling a bit more. And people in the US, they weren't really traveling like that. They would just stay in the US. Huh?
They didn't even have passports. They didn't
have passports. My sister, when she came here, that was her first time leaving the country, to visit me. Now she's like everywhere. Oh yeah, I booked a trip to Greece. I'm like, you going from Atlanta to Greece? It's like that, once they get a taste, and she's been out. And then, she used to say, oh, I wouldn't go out the country by myself. And the people didn't realize why I would go out the country by myself. And now they was like, yeah, I'm going. I'm not waiting on nobody. So, it's just changing that mindset, it's seeing things in a different way. One of the things that I realized, yes, some of those countries, they have less than us. They have less than the Western world. And me and my sister discussed this when she went to Jamaica. They have less than us, and they are happy. They are not doing the hustle. I mean, yeah, it's a hustle everywhere, but we work ourselves to death. They happy with what they have, dancing, smiling. They are. It's different. It's just totally different. And I think in some of those countries, they actually live longer.
Yes, yeah, they do. Yeah, because it's the less stress. It's I think it's like we have this stress of knowing that there we can attain a better future. We know that if we do certain things, or we work hard or try and maneuver ourselves, we can try and improve our social position in life. But I think in some places where it's there's not that massive disparity between wealthy and not so wealthy. Everyone's kind of on a similar playing field, so there's not that attrition to try or contraction to be trying to get somewhere and feeling depressed that you're not there, and like oh, I wish I was. But if there is like, well, there's not really those stepping stones to get somewhere. Everyone just accepts, I guess, kind of where they are. There are people that obviously want a better life, and but yeah, sometimes I think the simplicity of life is a good way to live. And I personally would want to live in a country that's less fast-paced.
Yeah.
Because I think what the problem we have here is that it's very fast paced. You know, everybody is working extremely hard, especially if you work in big cities.
Yeah.
And it does affect your health, you know, and the
Yeah.
stresses of trying to keep up, and consumerism and all of that. It can be stressful.
I understand those people who get those tiny homes and the tiny home living. I mean, shoot, eventually I may have to do this because one lady, she went and got her tiny home and she's older, you know, and she travels. So
Yeah.
she said, tiny home,
Yeah.
I travel. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah.
experiences. And I met, you know, when I used to work in a hotel in the US, I met a lady, she was 70 years old. She said, honey, I've been to every country in this world. She said, I just came back from China. She was a little old lady. And you
Yeah.
know, and the thing is, I thought it was so cute. And I said, I want to be like her. That she is living her life, her experiences. When she leave this earth, she's gonna say, I've been to these, you know, I experienced life.
Yeah.
That's what she told me.
That's so true. Yeah, and you remind me of actually, when I was on a plane to South Africa earlier in the year, I was sitting next to a lady, and similar story. You know, she was 80 something, and you know, her husband had passed away, and most of her family had passed away. But she had some neighbors and friends and stuff, and she was like, "Oh, this is my like 40 something trip to South Africa," and I was like, "Wow!" And she's like, "Oh, I go here," and she was done up, man. When I tell you, she had her hair freshly done, the outfit was on point. I was like, and she was chatting to me, chatting away, and she was telling me her life, and I was like, you know what, like everyone obviously that she knows and loves is unfortunately no longer with her, and she's on her own, but she's found a new life. She's learning from her friends' kids, you know, and the next generation below her. She's on a plane and she's ready to go, and she's like, oh, you know, this might be my last trip, but you know, I've enjoyed it. And she was so happy. And I remember sitting with this woman, I thought, if I get to that age, I want to have that life experience where I'm just content, you know,
Exactly.
making a new life for myself, whatever that is, expressing my life with, you know, other people that I've got to know over the years, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, she was just enjoying herself and just living in a good moment. And I felt like sad in that moment, because I was just like, she's just so happy. And I think that's
Exactly.
lovely. And I think it made me think about my life. And I thought, you know, what am I trying to achieve? What am I actually doing? What's my reason for life? And what are the reason for the goals that I have? And how do I
Exactly.
really want to live my life, you know, moving forward? And I think the simplicity of life is so important, because I think to myself sometimes, am I happy? Am I happy with what I'm doing right now? I may be on that, you know, rat race, but
Yeah, the rat
happy,
race.
you know what I mean? But you know,
Yeah.
am I really happy? Would I be happier being like a diver instructor in, you know, I don't know, Costa Rica or something? Maybe I
Yeah.
wouldn't. You know what I mean? Living in a hut somewhere, you know. It just really makes you think about your life. And I felt like this woman was like my grandmother. You know, she was like, you know, it was just so cute, as you said. But it really sometimes it takes. And I unfortunately don't have elders in that age range now that I can have those conversations with. So
Yeah.
having a conversation with that lady, it really made me think, you know, and I think we do sometimes have to talk to our older generation as much as we can, because, you know, they can give you so much insight in a way. And I actually, I was given this homework to do, basically to imagine yourself on your deathbed, or, you know, at a very later age in life, and what advice would you give someone, maybe your great grandson or your great granddaughter? What advice in life would you tell them? And then it really just makes you fast forward in your life and look back. And
Wow.
it's that concept of doing that is so profound, because you feel in that moment like, oh my God, it's too late. And then you kind of put yourself back into your current state. And then you're like, wait, it's not too late. I can do this now. I can
You
change
can do
it.
it. You can work on it. You still got time.
Yeah. It's like when you have a dream and you're like, oh my God, that was the worst dream. And you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I've still got time to change
Oh,
the
yes.
outcome. That concept, and I've still got to do the full exercise, but I've been given this homework from a therapist. And I thought this was just the most profound thing, to do. Put yourself in a position of you as an older person who's reached the end of their life cycle. And what would you tell someone who's younger coming up? What would you tell them based on your life experiences? And I think that's so powerful. And I think if we did those sorts of things, I think we would live our lives a bit more purposeful.
Yes. And that's very important. Like, where do you see it? That's another reason why I do a lot of work, what I do, because I want people, sometimes I ask myself, what do I want people to say when I leave this earth?
Yeah.
What type of impression do I want to leave on people?
Uh-huh.
And that's huge. That's huge for me.
Same.
It's not all about, to me, it's not all about, the achievement, but I do, I think it's an internal achievement, is internal. And I do find people who may have low self-esteem or whatever, they would use material stuff for happiness.
Yeah, to compensate.
To compensate, because we all know that, especially as being women, we all have been there where we emotionally purchase.
Emotionally purchase. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
For whatever reason, we said we're gonna go out and make ourselves happy for whatever reason, and emotionally make a purchase. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we turn around and say, I can't believe I spent that much. Why did I buy this?
Yeah. Yes.
God. So I don't think whether I don't know. I know a lot of people are going through it during this time. Whatever you have on your mind, that's another thing. Please don't emotionally purchase.
Yes. No, yeah. Live within your means, and it means live comfortably. It does. You don't feel pressured by anything outside of yourself to spend your own hard money, because if you think about when you spend something, say something costs £600, $600, whatever. But how long will it take you to work to make that money? Based on your current salary, based on your current income, if you were to break it down into hours or minutes, how many hours or minutes would you have to be working in your current, job or whatever your situation is in order to make that money back? And you think about that sometimes before maybe you purchase, such a large purchase, or people buy these watches, don't they? They buy expensive watches and they haven't even got their house situation sorted. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I know people got Rolexes and all types of stuff. Yes. But and that's another thing. Like, people say, "Oh, you why haven't you gone on vacation? Why haven't you gone on vacation? Why haven't you taken the girls on vacation?" Because I know people here that used to go to Florida and they used to spend $8,000 to take their family to Florida. Well, you do that a couple of times, that's another deposit or so on a home. And even me, that's part way a deposit for a home or investment. So I'm like, no, that can wait. I can go somewhere else.
Yeah. And you can take trips. You can, like you say, like, there's nice places here in the UK. You can, when the weather's good, you can take. I went to Warminster last August. Fortunately, the weather was a lot better than it is this year. But we went there and it was beautiful. It was like we were in the Mediterranean. We were out in the pool outside. We were sitting in a jacuzzi. And we were in England. And it was a beautiful place. It was in a massive estate, and the grounds were beautiful and everything else. So, yes, we can take time away. Yes, we can enjoy things in life. There's time for everything. But sometimes we have to make sensible choices and think, okay, is this a good decision? Could I be investing in something else? If you've made investments, you can then enjoy a little something for yourself, right? You can reward yourself with something, of course, but let's build first. Let's, instead of putting 30 grand on a watch, put 30 grand in a property investment, and then maybe remortgage, and then you can buy another place, and then you got a little bit of cash left. Maybe
just don't go get your license and go out and buy a Tesla. or something.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People are buying, it's so easy now for people just to get finance and to have the car that they want. Back in the day, you wouldn't see as many Range Rovers on the road. You wouldn't see as many Lamborghinis on the road. I'm seeing McLarens all the goddamn time, and I'm thinking, where the hell are people getting their money from?
But that's the thing I noticed about the British. They like their foreign cars. I mean, in the US, everybody's getting Corvettes and Teslas and all this other stuff. And that's the thing. And I'm like, regular people, it's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get a Tesla, with regular jobs, But the thing is,
to me, but yeah, go on.
That job may turn around and lay you off.
And then you've got all these payments you're stuck in for 24 months.
Exactly. So, and at the rate we at, no person's job is, 100%
secure. No one's secure. I always say no one's safe.
No one's safe. It don't matter.
Alternative income. You need to make sure that you live in, low cost, low expense. So, your outgoings, you need to be doing your budget, like, your expense budget, look at what should be, what you have to pay out. And then look at some of the things, okay, maybe I can stop this here, or I don't need this. So some people have got gym memberships. They're not even going to the gym and they're paying.
Oh, I canceled mine during COVID. I had one and I canceled mine during COVID because it was a waste. I was like, oh no, I got so comfortable working in the house. I was like working out or not going. I said, well, I'm wasting. No, I canceled it. I just go in. I canceled
it. If I'm not using. And that's the thing, it might be small amounts. You think, oh, it's only $9.99, but you add that up for the whole year. It's still money. People. It's funny because people don't value things that are small, but the small adds up.
It adds up.
Pennies make pennies. 100 pennies make a pound. It's like
exactly. And there's a bank. There's a bank that if you save up $4,000 a year, they'll put another $1,000 to it. So someone told me about.
Looking at banks and what their interest rates are, their interest rates are generally 1%, slightly less than 1%. It's not huge, okay, but putting your savings in an account that gains interest is better than putting the money under your shoebox under your bed, or putting it in an account that doesn't have any interest. Yes, it would be great if the interest was 5% or 4%, or whatever the rates are that the loans are at the moment. But it's about looking at there are financial.
But they have the ISO. So for larger investments, depending on which, so your retirement, your investments, if you want to do the ISO, accounts that people can do. So there's all sorts.
There's lots of products out there. Even with your own banks, they change things all the time. I came across something with one of my banks, and they had so many more savings accounts with high yielding interest than what I had when I took out my first savings account with them. And so I was like, right, I'm screenshotting all of these, going to have a look at what one has the best rate, what one has the best rate when I put the most money in it. And then I'm going to switch and switch to one of those. Because
join the credit union.
Because you could already have a savings account, right, which you may have had for 10, 15 years. But since then, your bank might have come out with new products and they have a better rate. So sometimes reevaluate where your money is sitting, if it's in banks, if it's in multiple banks, and look at what new products they've got, because accumulate that interest, that 1.75, that 1.4, that 0. And your money can make.
If you have credit cards, combine those credit cards too. Combine the what's on the credit cards. Make it one credit card, one payment. Do transfer the credit card debts over to another one. If sometimes that'll save you on interest. Some of them are zero interest for a certain amount of months. Yeah, so you get. Those are things that you can do, and it's just making smart choices all together. It really is. And like I said, it's a lot we can do. What companies, going back to jobs, but if you have a job, try to look at what you can do on the side. I know I had a conversation with someone the other day, said, oh, do you think companies don't like you sometimes because you doing stuff on, you have a lot going on with your own stuff? I said, yeah, but in the US they don't care. In this country they care. I said, but let's be honest. You can't buy a house on half of their salaries that they offer. You cannot, it'd be difficult to save that 30,000. How do I, or 40, 50,000? Actually, you need more than 30,000 these days because the houses have gone up as well. But how can you save it and you're trying to live at the same time, save? You're gonna need, like she said, certain income coming in from other areas, other aspects, whether you become a social media influencer, whether you got to do something on the side or something. Maybe you need to find easier way, become an author, whatever, passive income. So, these are ideas that you have a job, because I just wanted to go back to it. Yeah. And I told them, I can't, even if I was to go out and get a job tomorrow, it's not 100% guaranteed. They can lay me off tomorrow. They can make me redundant tomorrow. Exactly. Yeah. And you want me to stop doing anything on the side to so that you can feel comfortable?
Yeah. They're not going to pay that shortfall. They're not going to pay that shortfall. They're not going to, if you need a loan, they're not going to say, oh, can I get an advance on my pay? No. They're not going to do that. So you do have to make smart choice for yourself. I suppose, as long as it doesn't affect, because obviously, you're contracted to work for them for a certain times or whatever. And, as long as it's not affecting what you're doing at work, I think there are ways that you can try and still, But
most of the time, that's the thing. Most of the time, if you don't put your company, because I would advise, if someone wants to do it, don't put their company, that they don't even have to put the company that they work for on their profile or on their social media. Give it presence anyway.
Yeah, you don't. You're not compelled to have a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to even
advertise it. You don't have to advertise what you do.
And so
that's the problem with now. Everyone wants to tell the whole world about every little thing that they do. People don't want to keep things private anymore.
Yes.
They have to just divulge and let everybody know their business.
So my thing is, so don't link it, like, because I think someone was asking me about if I would stop my business or something like that before. I think it was ages ago when I went to an interview when I was looking for work, and they said, oh, well, do you have plans on why stopping your business? And I said, well, no. I said, this job only pays this amount. I can't. How you expect me to live off of this?
Yeah, exactly.
I said, somebody could come, and then I told one, I said, somebody could come in tomorrow and they'll still leave your company because for more money during this climate. And they said, yeah, true. And and guess what? They offered me the job. You know what I mean? You just keep it real. And so, that's the thing. Let's be realistic. Companies as well need to be a bit more realistic about what they offer and what they expect their employees to do. And that's just, I just had to put that out there. Sorry.
No, it's good. Yeah. And I think people need to do what they feel is best for them. But everyone's got skills and talents in which they can use those to better themselves and to also solve other people's problems.
Yes, and do that and that's the thing. When you're in a recession or going in a recession, it's all about what problems you can solve for the next person, and that can make you money. If you can do that, then you can make money doing things. If you can, if people now want to save money and you have a product and you offer it for a little cheaper, you may end up blowing up because it's supply and demand. It just depends on if you want to become that cost-effective type of person. It depends on your brand and how you want to brand your company. Are you wanting to solve the cost, of that client or the market, or do you want to be more service-based and what you offer as a service? That's one thing about Netflix. I think Netflix has done so well because people decide, I don't have to buy cable.
Yeah. Yeah, and people stop
199
paying.
and no cable. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they stopped paying some of the larger satellite companies.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just depends on where you want to put yourself in the market. And that's all I want to say about as far as being a company or being a person.
Yeah.
Come up with an idea, find a way to make money because there's money out there. You just gotta, like she said, you just gotta find a problem that needs solving and solve it.
Yes. So hopefully with this conversation, we've instilled some inspiration, some excitement. We've buzzed you up to be so excited about this position we're in. We're in a very fortunate position that only comes around every few years. So, think about what you can do now and how you can start planning to improve your social and economic situation. And and have the conversation with your close people, your friends and family. Have these discussions and think, right, what can we do? Can we start maybe shopping together? Can we start, maybe let's put our food shopping together and order some things that together collectively. There's so many different things that you can do, but hopefully we've shown you a different side, because when you watch the news, it's always negative and this has gone up and that's gone up, and but okay, they're not telling you how you can navigate or how you can make it work for you. So hopefully, having listened to it and watched this conversation, that you feel a little bit more inspired, and that power is always within you. So make sure you keep it within yourself, and not look too much outside of yourself to try and figure out how to spend your money. You make that decision. And I don't know, Teresa, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Just make sure, look at markets, like I said, look at skill sets, look at what's growing, and navigate, make change. I think and anytime there's an economic downturn, change is needed, and sometimes we have to change the direction that we're going in order to fit in, and sometimes it's good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we're going to leave it here, but thanks everybody for joining us on the Don't Speak on It podcast, the podcast that keeps you energized, informed, and empowered. Once again, I'm Sahela Dean.
And I'm Teresa, and to remember to always speak on it.